Hello everyone, welcome to Coaster Hour, and for today's video I will be giving my top 10 most anticipated coasters I have yet to ride. Before I get onto the list, I will mention that this ranking is different than which coasters I haven't ridden I think are the best, and that this is my opinion and it is fine if you disagree with me. With all that said, let's get right into the countdown. For number 10, I have Fury 325, the B&M Giga Coaster located at Kärnan. For me, this looks like one of the most fun roller coasters in the entire world. What makes Fury look so good is that it is a long ride that has great speed and great airtime moments, while also being a buttery smooth coaster. It also looks to be pretty intense throughout, and the pacing also is great. I have yet to ride a B&M Hyper or Giga Coaster, which is another reason it makes the list, as I believe it will provide a ride experience unlike anything I've ever ridden. So even if Fury 325 isn't the most intense or airtime filled ride out there, its mixture of everything along with being a long journey gives Fury 325 the number 10 spot on my list. Coming at my number 9 spot is another Giga Coaster, this one manufactured by Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. This coaster should only be ridden by those who love intense coasters. The first turn on this coaster pulls crazy G-forces, and combine that with some of the quickest and whippiest rapid transitions out there, and it's no wonder why many claim this to be the most intense coaster on the planet. Great airtime moments can also be found on this terrific coaster, which further cements its spot on the list, and I can definitely see why so many people have this as their number 1 overall coaster. I've ridden Skyrush, which is similar but more focused on airtime than I-305, but still, this coaster is an absolute intensity monster, and that is why it makes the list. For my number 8 coaster, I have the legendary Gravity Group wooden coaster, the Voyage, located at Holiday World. This wooden coaster is absolutely jam-packed with airtime, as it has 24.3 seconds of it, the most on any wooden coaster. The name Voyage is very fitting for this coaster, as it really feels like you're going on a crazy voyage or journey. One moment you'll be going over a large and tall airtime hill, and in another you'll be diving underground in a tunnel. The laterals on this coaster also look amazing, as you will go through 90-degree bank turns, and it is also a very long ride as the track length is over 1.2 miles long. Some concerns I have for the ride is that I've heard that it might be a rough coaster, and that even though there's a lot of airtime, not all of it is very strong. But that is to be expected from a wooden coaster and one with a lot of airtime. And I still expect a terrific ride, as Holiday World does an amazing job retracking and maintaining their wooden coasters every off-season. The Voyage is one of those coasters I keep hearing great things about, and with its incredible amount of airtime and laterals, it is no surprise that Voyage makes the list. My 7th coaster on the list is yet another wooden coaster, T-Express, manufactured by Intamin and located at Everland in South Korea. This wooden coaster is among the tallest wooden coasters in the entire world, and its first drop looks to have the potential of being the best first drop out there, and some of the hills on the ride look to have some of the strongest ejector airtime in the entire world. The first 2 turns on the coaster look pretty intense, as well as giving the coaster an amazing first half. The pacing looks admittedly a little wonky toward the end of the second half, and the layout toward the end also gets a little repetitive, but even the airtime hills at the end look like they give great ejector. Really, the only thing I truly dislike about this coaster is just how far away and inconvenient it is to get to for me, since I live in the United States. Even with that, I am still determined to one day go to South Korea and ride T-Express, as well as check out what other cool attractions they have there. For my number 6 coaster, we head over to Germany and find their Shore des Kärnan, commonly called Kärnan, at Hansa Park. This Gerstlauer coaster is unbelievable, as it has a 220-foot first drop that takes place inside a tower. This may be one of the best moments found on any coaster, as it is completely dark and you're going so fast down that first drop, and the weirdly tall first element also looks to be intense while giving great airtime. The pacing of this ride is also superb, and the surprise of the ride, which I won't go into, just make this coaster seem even more out of control. Also, this coaster features its own soundtrack that sounds quite epic and makes me even more hyped to ride Kärnan. It's coasters like this that make me excited to see what Gerstlauer has in store for the future, and Kärnan's unique but excellent layout makes it a great choice for my number 6 most anticipated coaster. At Six Flags Great Adventure, there is the world's tallest roller coaster, King of Ka, which is my number 5 most anticipated coaster. Just kidding. My number 5 is actually El Toro, an Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster at the same park. Many say this coaster contains the strongest airtime on the planet, and with how the hills are shaped, it's easy to believe why. While there have been a few roughness complaints about El Toro, since it is an Intamin prefab, I'm not too worried, as I'm sure I've ridden much rougher coasters. El Toro is all about the airtime, and if you know me, I love airtime, and since this coaster is some of the best out there, of course I'd have it on my top 10 most anticipated coasters, and that is why it is my number 5 coaster on the list. DC Rivals Hyper Coaster at Warner Bros. Movie World in Australia is my number 4 coaster on the list. This hypercoaster, manufactured by Mach Rides, has one of the best layouts of any coaster in the entire world, in my opinion. The mixture of a fantastic twisting first drop, great airtime hills, intense turns, and a non-inverting loop makes DC Rivals stand out from the other hypercoasters. As awesome as the layout is, there is one thing about this coaster that really changes up the experience, and makes me more intrigued to ride it, and that is that the back row faces backwards. I absolutely love coasters that feel crazy and out of control, and getting insane airtime and strong forces while facing backward, not knowing exactly what is coming next, is something that definitely appeals to me, and that is exactly why DC Rivals is number 4 on my most anticipated coaster list. Number 3 is a coaster that I think many thought would be number 1 for me, and that is Steel Vengeance, the RMC hybrid coaster at Cedar Point. Opening in 2018, Steel Vengeance was praised by many as being the best coaster in the entire world. Steel Vengeance holds the record for being the tallest, longest, and fastest hybrid coaster in the entire world, and has 27.2 seconds of airtime, the most of any coaster on the planet as well. And even with that, the layout still includes 4 inversions. The airtime looks to be quite strong throughout as well, but my concerns for the ride is how the mid-course brake run could affect the pacing of the second half of the coaster in the future years, and I'm also not entirely sure that Steel Vengeance's best moments will wow me as much as some of the moments featured on the 2 upcoming coasters. But even with that, Steel Vengeance is an absolute masterpiece of a coaster, and is an easy pick for this list. Number 2 for me is Eejanaika, an SNS 4th Dimension coaster located at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. As some of you may know, my number 1 coaster I've ridden is X2, which also is a 4th Dimension coaster. This coaster's layout is actually very similar to X2, but this coaster is even taller, smoother, faster, crazier, and even better paced than X2. Eejanaika just looks absolutely insane with how it flips you and whips through its elements, creating one of the most out-of-control coaster experiences in the entire world. For me, this coaster is interchangeable with number 1 in terms of how excited I am to ride it, as both have some of the greatest coaster moments on the planet. But I put this one here at number 2 because I've ridden a very similar ride already to it in X2. Now for my number 1 most anticipated coaster, we head over to the amazing Park Dollywood and find the incredible RMC launched wooden coaster, Lightning Rod. This coaster has everything I'd want in a coaster. A lot of strong airtime, including one of the greatest moments of airtime on the entire planet with the quad down. Unbelievable pacing that never lets up, a fantastic first drop, great intensity, and a unique setting where you are zooming past hills and trees, as this coaster makes excellent use of the surrounding terrain. Quite a few people also have this as their number 1 coaster they've ever ridden, ahead of coasters like Steel Vengeance and El Toro. So I can definitely see this ride as being one of my all-time favorite coasters, and even quite possibly my number 1, and that is why Lightning Rod is my most anticipated coaster to ride. Enjoy the video? If you did, go check out some of the other videos I made on the channel, and consider subscribing to get more park and coaster related content. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to stay tuned for more upcoming videos here on Coaster Hour.